Okay, hi Patrick. I want to make a video response to a small section of one of your videos you made last week. In that video you said this.
Some of the smartest people out there have believed in God. Einstein, Pascal, there's many more. I believe even Galileo believed in God. So, if you want to call us all idiots, it's up to you.
Okay, firstly, I don't want to call all religious people idiots, but I will say I think religious thinking is irrational at best. So let's look at these three people you've chosen to make your point that you think that many intelligent people are religious. Einstein, Galileo and Pascal, all people from history. You've clearly chosen mathematicians and scientists for a reason. Maybe you think this demonstrates intelligence. So let's pick Pascal. Pascal was born in 1623. It's evident from all his writings that he was a religious person. But let's look at when he lived. 1623. Not much was known about the way the world works. In fact, a very small fraction of what we know today. The church was incredibly powerful, and religious thinking was kind of pervasive throughout society. It would be a very difficult time to be an atheist. It was pre-Darwin theory of evolution, so there was no real contender to go against the creationist fairy story. So a very difficult time to be an atheist. Galileo, was born even earlier in 1564. Now, he had a hard enough time proposing his heretical ideas about the heliocentric nature of our solar system. He got a lot of stick from the church for that. He's extremely unlikely to have declared himself to be an atheist, even if he was. It's not clear from his writings whether he held strong religious views. He would have had the sense to keep his head down and his mouth shut had he held any atheistic tendencies. So I think the verdict might be out on Galileo, whether he was religious or not. He lived in a time when it just wouldn't have been wise to say so. But I think he was enough of a free spirit and someone who thought outside the box that possibly he was, but we will never know. Einstein, plain and simple wrong. You're wrong on Einstein. Do a Google search. You'll get lots of quotations that you can look at. I've done one just now, and I will read a few things off the screen. So, it was of course a lie what you read about my religious convictions. A lie which is being systematically repeated. I do not believe in a personal God, and I have never denied this but have expressed it clearly. If something is in me which can be called religious, then it is the unbounded admiration for the structure of the world so far as our science can reveal it. Find that one for yourself if you like, just use Google. He says plenty more things. It seems to me that the idea of a personal God is an anthropological concept which I cannot take seriously. I also cannot imagine some will or goal outside the human sphere. Science has been charged with undermining morality, but the charge is unjust. A man's ethical behaviour should be based effectually on sympathy, education and social ties and needs. No religious basis is necessary. Man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be restrained by fear of punishment and hope of reward after death. And there's pages upon pages of these quotes proving that Einstein was in no way religious in the sense that you're trying to portray him. So you've possibly got one person out of the three, maybe even two. Now interestingly, you did pick scientists and mathematicians. You didn't pick poets, playwrights or artists to prove a point. So let's look at scientists and mathematicians in the general populace, and what you'll find is that scientists and mathematicians and people that are technologically trained, there's a much higher percentage of atheists in these groups of people, which really goes against what you're saying. If you look at the number of scientists that are atheists, it's far, far higher than the percentage in the general population. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? And you actually picked this group of people to demonstrate your point. So, yes, it is always possible to cherry pick the odd people that will buck a trend, but I don't think you've succeeded with your selection, your three people. Where does this kind of religious thinking take us? Let's take it to the extreme. I found an interesting snippet referenced from Physics Today, the August 2007 edition. Of the 57 nations in the Islamic Conference, that's essentially a whole bunch of Islamic states, most of them theocracies, the average number of people per 100 is less than 1 that are trained in science and technology. If you compare that to a democracy, the 30 democratic countries in the OECD, for instance, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the number is 14 out of 100. So we've got 14% versus 1%. 14% of the population are trained in science and technology in a democracy, and 1%, less than 1%, trained in science and technology in a theocracy. So you can see where this religious thinking gets you. It oppresses science, it oppresses progress, and the US is on the verge of becoming a theocracy, as far as I can see, with the rise of Christian fundamentalism and the push to get things like intelligent design into the classroom and creation science. It's going to kill science. It's going to make the situation for the US even worse than it is. Already you've got more than 50% of your science and technology trained professionals from overseas, because you can't find enough people from your own country that are trained to fill those positions. So that's why I don't like religious thinking. I don't think that all religious people are stupid. Thank you very much.